Hello and welcome back to our channel, where we uncover the fascinating history of rare and collectible coins from around the world. Today, we'll be diving into one of the most famous coins in American history, the 1943 Lincoln Wheat Penny, often called the silver penny, or steel penny. At first glance, this coin looks unlike any other penny you may have seen. Instead of its traditional copper red or brown color, the 1943 cent has a shiny, silvery gray appearance. Some even mistake it for a dime, a nickel, or a foreign coin. But in reality, it carries one of the most interesting stories of World War II America, where economics, industry, and history collided to create this unusual cent. By the end of this video, you'll know why the US Mint changed the penny's material in 1943, how the steel penny was made and distributed, the public's reaction, and why the experiment only lasted 1 year. The incredible rarity of copper 1943 pennies worth millions, and what your own 1943 wheat penny could be worth today. So sit back as we travel back to 1943 and unravel the remarkable story of the silver wheat penny. Chapter 1, Background, the Lincoln Wheat Penny. To understand the significance of the 1943 steel cent, we need to begin with the story of the Lincoln Wheat Penny series. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909. To celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This was the very first time in U.S. history that a president's portrait appeared on a circulating coin. The design was created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, who placed a portrait of Lincoln on the obverse, while the reverse featured two wheat stalks encircling the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. This wheat design would remain on pennies until 1959, making it one of the most iconic American coin series. By the 1940s, the Lincoln Wheat Penny had already become a familiar part of everyday life. Millions of Americans carried them in their pockets, used them in payphones, vending machines, and even tucked them away in piggy banks. But in 1943, during the height of World War II, the penny would undergo a radical transformation. Chapter 2, World War II and the need for siege. In 1941, after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, the United States officially entered World War II. The nation mobilized its entire economy toward the war effort. Every factory, every workshop, and every resource was redirected to produce weapons, vehicles, and equipment for the military. One of the most vital materials needed was copper. Copper was essential for producing ammunition, shell casings, communication wires, military vehicles, and countless other wartime supplies. By 1942, the demand for copper had skyrocketed, and the U.S. government faced a pressing question: how can we conserve copper without disrupting daily commerce? The answer came from the U.S. Mint: change the composition of the penny. Since pennies were made mostly of copper, producing billions of them every year consumed a staggering amount of this critical metal. So, in 1943, the U.S. Mint made a bold decision: they would strike pennies from a new material. Chapter 3, the birth of the silver PNNY. In 1943, the U.S. Mint replaced the traditional bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc with a steel core coated in zinc. This new penny looked completely different. Instead of its familiar reddish-brown tone, it had a shiny silver-gray color, which led many Americans to call it the silver penny. Of course, the coin wasn't actually made of silver. Its core was ordinary steel, with a thin layer of zinc to prevent rust. The obverse still featured Abraham Lincoln's portrait, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," above, "Liberty," on the left, and the year 1943 to the right. On the reverse, the classic wheat stalk design remained unchanged, but in the eyes of the public, the coin was unlike any penny they had ever used before. Chapter 4, Public reaction to the 1943 steel cent. When the steel penny entered circulation in early 1943, Americans were both surprised and confused. Many people mistook the coin for a dime, since both were similar in color and size. Others thought it might be some kind of foreign coin. There were also complaints about the coin's performance. Because of its steel composition, the 1943 penny had a tendency to rust if its protective zinc coating wore off. In humid environments, some coins developed brown or black spots, making them unattractive. Even worse, the new pennies caused problems in vending machines and coin-operated devices. Magnets inside these machines would sometimes reject the coins, since steel is magnetic. This created frustration for both business owners and customers. Public dissatisfaction grew, and it became clear that the steel penny was not an ideal long-term solution. Chapter 5, the end of the experiment. By late 1943, the U.S. Mint realized that the steel penny experiment had run its course. In 1944, the Mint returned to a copper-based composition for the Lincoln cent. However, because copper was still in high demand, the Mint used recycled metal from spent shell casings collected from military training grounds. These shell case cents were struck from 1944 to 1946. Thus, the 1943 steel penny remains unique as the only regular issue U.S. cent ever made primarily from steel. Chapter 6, the rarity of 1943 copper pennies. While most 1943 pennies were made of steel, a few extremely rare mistakes occurred at the Mint. Some bronze planchets, the copper blanks left over from 1942, were accidentally fed into the presses and struck with the 1943 dies. The result was the legendary 1943 copper penny. Only about 20 to 40 examples are known to exist today, making them one of the most famous and valuable coins in American numismatics. These rare 1943 copper cents have fetched astonishing prices at auction. In 2010, one sold for $1.70 million. In 2019, another sold $4.204000. High-grade specimens can easily reach hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because of their rarity, counterfeiters often try to alter steel cents to look like copper by coating them. Genuine 1943 copper pennies are carefully authenticated by experts. Chapter 7, Varieties and Mint Americas. The 1943 steel cent was produced at 3 different U.S. mints: Philadelphia, No Mint Mark; Denver, D Mint Mark; San Francisco, S Mint Mark. Together, the mint struck over 1 billion steel cents in 1943, making them quite common in circulation. However, collectors also seek out varieties such as double dies, where lettering or numbers appear doubled. Off-center strikes or other minting errors, coins with particularly strong luster and no rusting. High-quality specimens, especially those graded as mint state by professional grading services, can carry premiums. Chapter 8, Collector Value. So, what is a 1943 steel penny worth today? For most examples in circulated condition, the value ranges from 10 cents to $1. These coins are common, since millions survived. However, uncirculated coins in pristine condition can be worth much more, around $5 to $15 for a typical uncirculated coin. Up to $50 to $100 plus for higher grades with brilliant luster. Certified coins in MS 67 or higher can fetch several $100s. Of course, the rare 1943 copper pennies are the real jackpot, worth hundreds of thousands or even millions. Over the years, the 1943 steel penny has generated countless myths and rumors. Some people believe every steel penny is rare and valuable, but in truth, they are relatively common. Others think the coins are made of silver, which is also false. The real treasures are the bronze mistakes from 1943 and, conversely, the rare 1944 steel cents, an error that occurred when leftover steel planchets were struck in the following year. These rare off-metal errors keep collectors fascinated and searching through old jars of wheat pennies to this day. Chapter 10, Legacy of the 1943 steel penny. The 1943 steel penny remains a symbol of America's wartime sacrifices. It reflects how even the smallest aspects of daily life, like the humble 1-cent coin, were affected by global conflict. The steel cent also represents American ingenuity and resourcefulness, as the mint adapted quickly to conserve copper for the war. For collectors, the coin is a must-have piece of World War II history. It sparks curiosity, conversation, and nostalgia. Almost everyone who has come across a steel penny remembers the first time they saw one and wondered why it looked so unusual. The 1943 Lincoln wheat penny, with its silvery shine, stands out as one of the most remarkable coins in U.S. history. Born from wartime necessity, it broke tradition, stirred public reaction, and created one of the rarest numismatic treasures in the form of the 1943 copper cent. Whether worth a few cents or hundreds of thousands of dollars, the coin continues to fascinate collectors and non-collectors alike. So the next time you come across a silver penny, remember, you're holding a piece of history, a reminder of how America adapted during one of its greatest challenges. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into coin history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories of rare and fascinating coins from around the world.